I have questions. Did they fire the Mr. Brightside streamers into the air from the top of the grandstand? It did look like he'd won. And Mark in Vermont is feeling that. I was shattered that Mr. Brightside didn't win the race. Watching it live, I thought he'd won, but no. Good win by Romantic Warrior, though. Great race. Great race indeed. All right, the big opinions are sitting here in the studio. Johnny O'Neill, welcome.
Good morning, Gerard. Great race. Fantastic time for the horses. Probably not so good for the owners, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, it's when so much of the track is a construction site and the offices are where you
Must
used
be a
to
real
stand
challenge.
around.
It must be a
Yeah.
real challenge, but we'll talk about it at length, I would imagine. But no power, no internet, no food, no hot food, can't get in the mounting yard. I think I'd rather stick a pen in my eye, Gerard, than go there again.
Right.
Thank you.
Wayne Hawkes, hello.
Good morning. That's why I didn't go.
There you go.
You know what? It's obviously the days that you want to have runners, but if you don't have a runner, so be it. But as I've said on your show and Gareth's show for the last couple of years, with the prize money discrepancy, and it is a discrepancy, let's be honest, I think that's as good a word as any, you won't have horses coming into Melbourne anymore. I mean, the Cox Plate's going to be the Cox Plate, the Caulfield Cup Week's going to be huge. But, gee whiz, I mean, the support cast is going to be, far and wide, isn't it? I mean, it's just and I think last year we were doing it, but we were just a touch hesitant. Whereas this year everyone's gone, nope, we are not going to Melbourne. We're doing this, we're doing that. And I'm sure we're going to talk about Amelia's Jewel going to Sydney. We're talking about I Wish I Win that went to Sydney. Brightside went to Sydney. All of our best horses, pretty much other than Alligator Blood, and he's probably trained in Sydney, all of them have been going back to Sydney.
Yep. So there are challenges, but there's also a glow after the Cox Plate. That's why it's the championship race.
It's the race.
The words of Les Carline were ringing in my ears as I walked to the car on Saturday night. It was masterpiece after masterpiece, he used to say, and it was a masterpiece on Saturday. Gareth Hall, hello.
Hello, Gerard.
The floor is yours for the King's Gambit.
Well, I thought the Cox Plate was one of the great finishes that I've seen in our great race. It had it all. The build-up was something else because you had so many different opinions. And from experts and from racing fans, you had opinions that Romantic Warrior couldn't win. At Cox Plate, he was a false favourite after what we saw in the Turnbull Stakes. Mr. Brightside wouldn't get 2,000 metres. Alligator Blood wouldn't get 2,000 metres. Militarised as a superstar 3-year-old with Zach Lloyd aboard. Can Fangirl get 2,000 metres? Should she be 30 to 1 or $6.50? So there were so many different unknowns and great debates leading up to the Cox Plate, and it didn't let us down. It was one of the great races. So some superb rides, like Williams' ride on Mr. Brightside was something else. James McDonald, to do what he did, to put that horse, Romantic Warrior, where he did after 400 metres, was just J-Mac at his best. And then to allow Tim Clark to come off the fence with Alligator Blood was another masterstroke. So it was a great finish. I thought that Mr. Brightside had won, but I was relieved once I heard the Matty Hill say that Romantic Warrior's got the photo.
So the best horse won the race.
Yes.
And the best weight for age form ran second and third.
Correct.
Mr. Brightside and Alligator Blood. And Les used to say it's the right race at the right time, at the right track, over the right distance, run under the weight for age conditions, a timeless test of class. And Johnny O'Neill, I thought it was every bit of that.
I agree with you, Gerard. I think the winners superstars, second and third, were enormous. I thought Damien's ride on Jewess to run fourth was extraordinary. We didn't think that horse would measure up, so certainly hats off to Ed Cummings there. Gold Trip was a huge run, coming back from the 2400. I thought Damien's Lane, his ride on Zaki was really, really good. And I thought Fangirl was very unlucky. Actually, if you go back and have a look, he had to take his medicine on her. And I will say in another 150 metres, it would have been fighting at the finish for sure. So elite racing. And look, what a pleasure it is to see James McDonald do his thing. And everybody knows I'm a huge fan of J-Mac, but I just thought the ride was extraordinary. And this time of the year, we said it last week, the cream really rises to the top. So hats off to the boys from Hong Kong to bring the horse over, and we're all willing to pot it. Was a little bit fat, a little bit like myself and Wayne first up, but started to look like you and Gareth second up. Yeah. So they've done a good job working the pounds off.
We'll get to Gold Trip in just a moment. It'll be interesting to hear what Johnny has to say about Gold Trip after he's got none in the Melbourne Cup after the Caulfield Cup, Wayne.
I thought some of the rides in that race were nothing short of amazing. Excuse me. If you look at Tim Clark's ride, I don't know anyone that said Tim Clark's ride was amazing. It was a 200 out of 10. He was riding that horse to get the 2040. And I reckon he got about 2030. Let's be fair.
He gets
about
1950 alligator blood.
100%.
Yeah.
And that was always his question going in. I mean, on the corner, I was watching him and I thought, you're home. You're home. You're cuddling. He was cuddling coming on the corner. And, gee, goosebumps just jump up again. It was like All Too Hard back in the 3-year-old day and C. Munce pushed go and he went and one came over the top of him. It was exactly the same sort of scenario. But I thought his ride, everyone spoke about J Mac and how he got on the back of him and let him get to where he got. But he just didn't go. He just waited. And then you saw Craig Williams slow out the gates and then manoeuvre to where he got, then darted back to the inside. And, I mean, you're going for inside runs in Cox Plates and you're... Well, unfortunately, the Hayes crew thought they'd won. What reminded me was it Doremus, wasn't it? Was it the Melbourne Cup?
That's right. Yeah,
When
correct.
G Hall just went absolutely bananas. And yes, they did shoot off the Mr. Brightside colours because I heard Ben Hayes say, and I saw those streamers go off, so I got even more excited. Poor buggers. I mean, you imagine you think you've won.
So the big issue is the thrilling finish, and all that's associated with it is James McDonald thinks he's lost, and the Mr. Brightside crew are sure that they've won, and then it cruelly turns.
And I was talking to a few of the racing goers there on Saturday, and you didn't really need to have a bet for the Cox Plate. Everybody enjoyed an investment in the great race, but it was with all the narratives leading in towards the Cox Plate, and people had their sides. Like, people love Mr. Brightside and they love Alligator Blood. And I was talking to a few of the owners and a few of the backers of those two horses on Saturday. And Gerard, I don't know what the listeners say on the text message, but it was like your football side lost by a point in the last kick of the day, especially for Brightside. You thought you had won that AFL Grand Final or that World Cup.
It was like the prelims this year, wasn't it?
And it got taken away from you. And it's devastating. Those owners were devastated. It was like you lost a football match and you're in mourning in a way. You're proud of your horse, but you were so close and you think to yourself, well, will I get another chance to win a Cox Plate? It would have been really, it would have been really tough.
You actually might not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, to be fair, the Hayes boys are upbeat going, we're only 30s and 20s and we'll get our chance. No, you're not. No. You might not ever get another horse on that day.
I think, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Champions. What about
Longrow
Champions Day? What about Champions Day? The last Saturday, you're probably going to have Alligator Blood and Brightside in the mile.
They should just
it's
have a
going to
match
be
race.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, and hopefully Fangirl as well.
And, it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. So just with Romantic Warrior winning, so I do feel this is one of those moments. I think sometimes we kid ourselves when the internationals win that this actually reverberates and we try to comfort ourselves that, one of the world's best horses came and beat him. And it's very rarely true. But this was a real, genuine moment. This is Hong Kong's champion horse. They almost never come here. They came here with all the right paraphernalia, including their own caller.
Let's hope they never
I
come
was
again,
alongside up the top. And this one matters. And it matters in world racing and it matters in Hong Kong racing rather than just being a side note. By the way, one of our horses won in Australia.
Well, just quickly, I mean, it was when Chris Muntz did his time and was in trouble, and then Peter Volandis brought him back to, he went back to New South Wales, and Peter Volandis licensed him so he could be a jockey, and the Hong Kong Jockey Club in New South Wales have had a real ding-dong, over the last 10 years. So it was good that they've came back to, do what they've done on the weekend.
I realised why he didn't go to Japan, however. Jared, there was a horse by the name of Equinox that won the Tenno show.
Yeah, it might be in the means test a bit later on.
A little later on, but that's why there'll be more Hong Kong gallopers coming here instead of Japan if Equinox is still racing.
So he's a great Cox Plate winner, Romantic Warrior, isn't he? Like, he's an instant great winner of the race, I think.
We had a few in the last 20 years. Shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but the Pinker Pinkers, and there has been a few over the years that you look back and you go, maybe they don't quite match up to the great greats. But when you look at the... do we have a Miller's Guide anymore? For all the older people listening, the Miller's Guide, how good was that? We all had one. But you know what? You look back at the Miller's Guide at the previous winners, most horses you look and you go, yeah, it's a good horse's race, isn't it? Simple as that.
He's one of the best. I think he's one of the best. He to come out when he did, with all the speculation around the extra weight he was carrying, being a bit tubby, as I said, like Wayne and myself, and then to run as well as what he did in the 2000 lead up, and then, a great ride, but a wonderful horse. He can probably come back again, Gerard, I would have thought.
The hero is James McDonald. It was his idea.
Yeah.
I think that much was really clear, and his emotion in the aftermath. He was with me a short time ago, and he sort of concedes that. It was a bit reputation on the line. Told him to come.
Yes.
It would want to work out.
And sitting at home, you get to see all of that and you get to hear it, whereas you three on course, you obviously didn't get to listen to Racing.com and Channel 7 like I was, tape one and flicking back and forth. But
We couldn't listen to it because there was no power.
that was not a lead-in from me either.
Sorry.
So at the end of the day, why he was so emotional was because he said, yes, he could do the job, but also he's been doing all the work. He's been doing all the work on this horse. I mean, to be at Flemington 7 o'clock Sunday morning, to be at Werribee 7 o'clock Sunday morning, the day after races, he has to fly down on a Saturday night. So there's no early planes on a Sunday morning out of Sydney. So he's been doing a stack of work on this horse, as opposed to going, I can ride that thing Saturday week and line up there in the Champion Stakes or the 1200 or whatever it might be and ride it and win and go, I won. Whereas the emotion was there because I reckon he just put more work into that horse than he probably had put into a lot of others. And that's always when the trainers and the jockeys have their argy-bargies because jockeys half don't care and things like that, whereas he cared. He was putting his reputation on the line, and then he actually did a stack of work on the horse.
It proves that jockeys can train better than trainers. And
Well, go to 400 Epsom Road,
Yes.
J-Mac, and Johnny O'Neill will give you 1,000 to train. I don't know that anyone else will.
Did you see a clip with Tom Brady talking at a function about what gets
Was
him
he repping
fired
James
up?
McDonald too?
Yeah, he was Tom Brady. Like
right, yeah.
he likes to hate the opposition. I think James McDonald, he took it personally with Romantic Warrior and the knockers after Flemington, and you could hear it in his voice. I've said this on
I knocked him.
numerous occasions.
I admit
Yeah.
I knocked him.
And
You're always knocking.
yeah, knocking J-Mac. He
No,
listens
not
to
J-Mac. Not J-Mac, the horse.
But he took it personally, and this was something that J-Mac desperately wanted to do with Romantic Warrior because, as you heard with you and J-Mac this morning, it was his project in a way.
I'm looking for a little sort of on-baller midfielder for the Tigers. Some
J-Mac,
hope off season.
And I've got to know.
Is there anything he can't do?
I've got
That's
to
the
know
question.
regarding you too with J-Mac that I won't reveal just yet.
With me?
Yes.
With
me?
me?
Oh,
With
me?
me?
Oh,
That-
great.
The two beaten horses, so Mr. Brightside and Alligator Blood, I feel like their reputations and their CVs were enhanced by what happened. This has been the spring where they finally got their due. Mr. Brightside elevated by some to the best horse in the country for a while and then got beaten in Sydney, just heroic. And Alligator Blood's been finally getting the plaudits with a CV to match might and power without the accolades along the way. I feel like that there's a set of horses in Cox Plates who emerge vanquished but enhanced, and Mahogany's one of those, and Our Waverley Star's probably it's his category, isn't it? Our Waverley Star. So they're in the Our Waverley Star category for me.
I think across the racing industry, and we've been talking about it a lot over the last sort of month or so, we were desperate to get a heap of competitive weight for age Group 1 quality horses, and we actually saw that on Saturday. Even though we loved seeing Winks go round, and she would win every week, and we would love to see Animo go round, and he was similar, and Black Caviar, to actually get back to the old days when we had Better Loosen Up and Superimpose and
Vo
Shaftesbury Avenue and Vo Rogue. Those type of horses would
At
go
Gelac.
out, and the 4 or 5 of them would compete. Tie the Knot was another great horse that came up year after year. And you'd go to Cox Plates and you'd go to the lead-in Group 1
Sunline
races, and
Northerly.
there'd be 5 or 6 or 7 horses all in the market that not so much took turns, but there wasn't much between them. So I
So
think
you're
to
saying
see that
you're
on the
saying
weekend.
Winks at $1.50 up against or a race where it's 5-1 the field to be fair, and everyone's got an opinion.
Well, I think from an owner's perspective, I mean, it was always frustrating because you'd invest in horses, you'd have nice horses, and you're running against Winks, and you got no hope.
Yeah, so I think there are two styles of Cox Plate. One's the Coronation,
Yeah.
and the Coronations are the ones that sort of they are enshrined in history. So the day mightn't be as competitive, and then there's the actual heavyweight bout. So who's the champ here? And a fusion of both. There's some years you get the Coronation, and some years you get the heavyweight bout, and we got it this year, and the champ proved to be the champ, and there's a lot of debate in the aftermath. So let's have the debate around what the Cox Plate Carnival is, the Friday night into Saturday. So I think there are about 8,000 there on Friday night, and then it's bloody hard to stage a major event at a construction site. And that's what Moonee Valley is at the moment. And there's going to be two more. There's going to be two more Cox Plate days, which I presume will get harder and harder to stage given all that's going round. And then I also think that the incredible gamble of redoing the track when history says, as part of what Les says, it's the right race and it's the right time. It's also the right track. And they're going to dig it up and start from scratch. I think it's an amazing scenario that Moonee Valley has constructed for itself at the moment.
And look, I can say from an owner's perspective, and I did go out. We were lucky. We had a 2-year-old race, a 2-year-old race winner earlier in the day, which was really good. But from an owner's perspective, Gerard, I'm not quite sure how they're going to deal with it over the next couple of years. We're talking about promoting racing and getting people there. What's pretty clear...
Danny Shum didn't care, for the record. He was pretty happy with it all. Go to the winning owner's store. Yeah. They never complain.
I agree. But, I mean, from my perspective and a heap of our other owners, there's always challenges, Gerard, isn't there, when you're on and working in construction sites. But we really need to be working around that, because the experience from an owner's perspective on the weekend, and I'm not dirty because we didn't win the Cox Plate. We had a runner in the race and we weren't good enough. But having said that, we did win another race, and it's just so frustrating. We just couldn't get anywhere. People were on level 2, paid $6,000 for a table.
But isn't that why they're redoing it?
No TVs, no food. And again, these are challenges that major events always face. So I'm not having a crack at the people at Moonee Valley. They didn't intend to do any of that. That wasn't obviously part of the play. So at the end of the day, they did the best job they could do in the environment. But I have to say, from an owner's experience, it was bloody terrible. And I couldn't get in the mounting yard. And when I did, I couldn't get all the other owners in the mounting yard. It's too small. Sure, they're adjusting that. We know that. But in the interim, we're talking about promoting racing and wanting to get people back to the races. You get the good horses there, people go to the races. There's no doubt about that. But having nightclubs in the middle of a racing environment, if they want to do it, they should put it all in the middle and go and have a heap of fun in there, because I couldn't hear a race. I couldn't see a fluctuation on a screen, and it was terrible. I thought the facilities were terrible. Having said that, I'm sure they didn't mean the power to go out and those other challenges. It was just no good.
Well, on track, or was your experience,
I was on
Gareth?
track. Like, I didn't mind. I thought it wasn't as busy as I thought it would be. I love the Valley. I love the Cox Plate. I love the Roar at the start. Yeah. But you couldn't get a bet on, and that was frustrating. So the internet's down in 2023. People bet on their phone. So it would have affected turnover on that day, especially on track. But apart from that, I think they've tried to do the best that they possibly can under the circumstances. But Caulfield had a construction site. Yeah. They didn't have too many problems. Caulfield, they run their carnival beautifully. Moonee Valley had a farm there was more problems that seemed to be there on Saturday. But I think the programming Friday night, I like the Moonee Valley Cup there. You've got to have the best sprint on the big day. So have the Manikato on the Saturday, and the Friday night meeting is important for Moonee Valley because they need the money, because that's one of their biggest revenue nights.
It would be interesting. I'd like to see the numbers on that in the aftermath.
I'm pretty
with
sure
8,000 there.
Yeah.
Your idea lived with me all week, is to put it all together as this incredible Saturday, and I do wonder whether Friday night has outlived its worth now.
We can't have 15 hours now. It would be a 12-hour day with no internet.
You can't.
And limited prize money.
Issue, but I still think they just have a Super Saturday and make it a Super Saturday.
But the track played beautifully. Hats off to Marty Simon.
But I'm still not disputing about the track, because I want to know, and what Gerard was alluding to, and I'll say it, I have been told that they don't make money on Friday night. So if they don't make money on Friday night, get rid of it. Just have Saturday, start the first at 12, have your normal 8 races, and then once the rest of the country comes towards a finish, instead of plugging in the Wizard from the West in Perth, you're going to go race 9, 10, 11, 12, and you know what? Run the Cox Plate at night. Try it once. And I'll tell you why. We have this big thing every year in about August, People like Gerard always are talking about night grand final, day grand final. The NRL grand final is a magnificent spectacle. I've been there. I've watched it on TV and do every year. Moonee Valley under lights is magnificent. Let's try it once. The only person that would be kicking back, I would think, might be if it was Channel 7's day or Channel 10's got it or Channel 9's got it because they want to run it before they go to the news.
Well, the Cox Plate will have to be under lights when they start again after the
Right.
reconstruction
Well-
because of the way you have a look. Now, I'm no expert, but the sun will be right in everyone's face.
But that's what Gerard's talking about. What
So
Les
we're
Carlin said.
running at the wrong time. Is
Correct.
that shadow on the winning post
That's right.
was,
And it's the sun in
was
your face.
hugely problematic, and it was only really problematic for one race.
You've got to run
we ran
them-
it at the exact wrong time. It was fine for Imperatrice.
Ben
and then have a
Hayes
look at
said
the
he did
last
not see
and-
Romantic Warrior because of the shadows where
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
sitting.
It's really
Cox
odd.
Plate's got to be run at 9 if you're going to. Yeah.
I think we
There's
should.
2 layers here. One is they've got 2 years to navigate with the track as it is, which I think gives them a free pass.
Do
to
it.
see
Just
if-
do it
what could
once.
we reimagine for
Once.
for the farewell, and then what is it going to be once the new valley is built?
But you're right, though. The new valley is going to be different because the people don't realise that what you're doing is instead of if it's north and south, they're going to turn around and be east and west, where the winning post is going to be. The winning post is going to be at about the 400 metre mark. So the Moonee Valley, as we know it, it's not just getting ripped up; it's getting moved back backwards 400 metres. So the whole track is going to be completely different to how it is.
I hope they don't lose the mystique of the Cox Plate when they do it. So we debate there. Imperatrice victory in the Manikato. So for Moonee Valley sprinting, she did the Triple Crown, the William Reid, the Moya and the Manikato. It again proves that Cox Plate Day has always been better when Manikato Stakes Day is part of it. And it made for a beautiful hour to see that sensational sprinter into the Hong Kong champ. And the fact that she led, which I think surprised a few through the first 200 going, are we happy with this or not? And it was a romp.
Worked out why she led because Buenos Noches, and it was sad that we didn't get to see him take on Imperatrice because he had the Everest form line, so he was scratched at the barrier. It took a couple of minutes to get him out of the gates and then vetted. And while that was going on, a couple of the speed stars that we thought would jump and be on pace were stuck in the barriers for 3 or 4 minutes just standing there patiently while Imperatrice was walking around the back on her toes. She walks into the gates. They let the gates they let the gates crash back and away she goes. She leads pretty easily. Once she led, they were never going to beat her.
So
but
you think she's a Moonee Valley great, don't
yes, I think she, and I don't, Wayne, you can speak about this. She's
Mr.
got that-
Brightside, isn't he? Look at
Yeah.
him. He improves 400 metres, Mr. Brightside.
Just explain to the listeners about the way that she can change her leg around Moonee Valley and just what changing the leg is when you hear Mickey D and Opie Bossum talk about her.
If you're going Melbourne way of going, your left leg, your front left leg is the first leg out in front. And then if you're going in Sydney way of going, the opposite way, you want them to have their right leg leading first. So it's the first step is with your right leg's the better way to say it. But it's an amazing thing, though, because when you run down the straight, Gareth,
Different ball game.
Sydney horses, you think, wow, right down the outside fence, no cigar. Best thing about Imperatrice was it just added another string to her bow, really, that she could jump and lead. And I was exactly like you, what you said, Gerard. The first 200 metres, I thought, ooh, gee whiz, you know what? But it just shows, I mean, look at you with the Millie's Jewel, Gareth. You've told me 100 times. She doesn't need to be back last. It's because of bad barriers. Imperatrice lobbed 2 in front, literally, and he was smart and said, let's go forward and let's not do anything silly. And you know what? It was great to see what she did, and hats off to them for not chasing the money.
No, I want to get to that in a tick.
The track played really well. You highlighted that earlier, but you still needed to be up there. There wasn't any point being 4 or 5
Yeah, but
lengths
you
back,
say
but
that.
that's Moonee Valley.
Yeah, but hang on. To be fair, right? When you've got Imperatrice in front and you're 3 lengths off her, I don't care who you are. You need to be Chautauqua.
I agree with that.
Or
But
you
I'm
need
just,
to be Black Caviar to be in contention.
I agree with that. I'm
She's
saying
too
the track
good.
played really well. There wasn't ridiculous bias, but at Moonee Valley, it's history will say you need to be sort of up in the first 4 or 5, and you give yourself a better chance. So for Imperatrice to show the versatility, and I do agree that she went in late, and you know from a racing perspective, had a chance to jump to the front. There would have been no chance that he was ever going to lead on that horse. That horse clearly races better with cover to let go, but to be able to go and control the race like that and win as easy as what it did, it's easily the best sprinter in Australia.
Yeah, so
Easily.
I would challenge that. Is So that was the C graders. I Am Me won the consolation to the Everest. And she didn't go. So the way to claim the mantle is to go to the Everest and win. And I think she would have run favourite. I don't know whether she would have won or not. But I'm not falling over myself to have her ahead of the Everest Quinella in the rankings of our sprinters. And the problem is they're not going to meet in this carnival.
So where does she go now?
She goes champions.
Last day.
Yeah,
Straight.
and from there?
Well, she probably either they make a decision whether they retire her or give her another go in the autumn, probably another go in the autumn, and then they retire her after the autumn, or they might even go to Royal Ascot. But this is from a racing fan point of view, and I can understand what Volandis is doing, but by putting on the Giga Kick, you're getting Everest or most of the Everest horses going there, and Think About It and Private Eye. And the champion sprint, it's basically a clash between Australia's Queen and Imperatrice, New Zealand's Queen down the straight at Flemington. And that's the battle that we're talking about.
She's never been there. Opie Boston's never won up the straight.
No.
He's never. He said post race. He said both of us.
Who do you back?
Well,
I'm with In Secret.
I'm backing my horse.
Is
Yeah,
it-
man.
I thought it was staying for the Giga Kick.
Well, you're wrong.
Oh.
It's about time you opened up and shared a bit of that
I was
information
talking
with
to
the
Ru-
listeners, Wayne.
I was
because
talking to
you keep
Rupert
a lot
Lee
of
on
this-
Thursday.
Don't
Yeah.
start all that crap.
No, I was.
Don't start all that crap.
Rupert's a look.
Get back to
Rupert,
Imperatrice.
all Rupert
Get
wants to
back
do is
to
share info,
Imperatrice.
and you don't. It's not
Imperatrice
good.
has to go the 1,200 metres. Does she need to run the Everest to be crowned as the best? Well, isn't that the trying to line up a Sydney horse versus a Melbourne horse, Gerard?
I think Everest is now our premier sprint.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would
with
and,
that.
agree
and she
with that.
could have gone there
And
and
the
didn't
second-
go there. So I'm not prepared to have her ahead of Think About It.
Well, that's
think we think about its
But
record.
But isn't that good pub debate? But I mean,
Yeah, but the Spring Carnival used to be about settling the pub debates.
Yes.
All right, this is the race.
but it's
Everyone
not going to
comes
happen
together.
now because we're going to be split up like
Well,
this.
I would
more
still
and
argue
more.
they should have gone to the Everest.
So did she go to the
even-
Everest as a 6-year-old mare?
I personally
I
think
don't
they
reckon
missed
she
their
will.
moment. This was the year to go.
she won't because she'll be at stud next year unless they decide to say bugger it. We're going to do what Winks did, and we're just going to keep going. Just quickly, Chautauqua was champion sprinter of the world. Means zero. It's good pub talk, but it means zero
No,
when
it
you've got
doesn't.
Yeah,
it.
but he
No,
went
it
to the
doesn't.
championship races in the TJ and he won it
Yeah,
three
but
times.
that's because they were there. Imperatrice stayed home and she won the Group 1s, Gerard. She's won the G1s on her pedigree. She didn't chase the money and a nothing race on the pedigree
Yeah,
page.
and that's okay. It's a great record. But I'm not anointing her a champion, and I'm not saying she's the best sprinter in
And
the
she's
land
very
because
tough.
she hasn't
You're
proven it.
very
And
tough.
do you know why it means something? Because the great Gerard Whateley, when you talk about Imperatrice's legacy, that's her legacy. He's not talking about she's the greatest of all time, and she could have been the greatest of all time, but if she runs away
she's
from
not.
it,
She's not. She's not Black Caviar or
no,
Chautauqua.
one
so
of
come
one
on.
of.
All right, I feel we're going to pressure
She's the best
index.
since Placid Arc and those horses.
Mark Zara had to make the choice. What a choice to be able to make between Without a Fight and Gold Trip for the Melbourne Cup. He's gone with the Caulfield Cup winner over his Melbourne Cup winner. How big a decision is that?
Well, it was pretty easy once you have a look at the weather report. It's beautiful conditions for Cup Week, so it'll be a good track. Gold Trip probably needs a little bit of sting out of the ground. He has to carry 58.5 Gold Trip, 56.5 Without a Fight. Mark Zara believes that he'll get a strong 2 miles after what he did in the Caulfield Cup. And for me, Johnny, I can't believe that you're getting $8 Without a Fight and $4.50 for Gold Trip.
The two best jockeys in Australia at the moment are riding those two horses, and neither of them will be celebrating on Melbourne Cup Day.
Oh, you're getting Suki, you've lost your rider. Geez, you're a bad sport.
I'm not, what do you mean? I'm just telling you, the two best riders in Australia, they may clean up and win everything else. I haven't looked at all their Derby rides and Oakses and Champions Miles and whatever else they're sitting on, but neither of them will be drinking out of the Melbourne Cup unless
Suki
they're
Lala.
sitting with Aussie and myself.
Okay.
And then we'll let them
Suki
drink
Lala.
out of the cup.
Oh,
Then they can
bet.
have as much as they want.
So you're going from Suki Lala to go in the early crow.
Well,
Well, you
I'm not
do
doing
go.
early crows.
Oh, yes,
I
you
haven't-
are.
I'm not going early
Yes,
crows.
you are.
You're due this spring
Yeah,
anyway.
but we know a lot of people, mate. So we may just sit around with somebody else that wins the Melbourne Cup,
Mate,
and
you
I
were doing
will
that at the
welcome
King Charles.
them
The King Charles.
to have
you
a drink
you had,
out of
you
it.
had,
Luke Murrell definitely won't be
Yes.
inviting you. So
I actually had a catch up with Jamie from Australian Bloodstock
okay,
on
there
Saturday. He's in good form.
How was he?
Larry, Lance. Sorry, I
Don't
can't
go
remember
there.
his name. Sorry,
Take it away.
sorry,
Take
We
Jamie.
have
back,
yes,
Gerard.
yes, yes, and oh no's to come. The racing means testers for the Osborne. Join us at the Osborne Rooftop Bar South Yarra for the ultimate Melbourne Cup Day celebration. And My Racehorse owned today from just $39. My Racehorse, it's showtime, myracehorse.com. Tom Kitten. Now, the only problem with that is that was absolutely agree with everything Darren Flindell said. There needs to be a loyalty program in racing. So if you've been backing Tom Kitten, hello, $3.80 favourite beaten, $2 favourite beaten, $2.60 favourite beaten, and you'd have to take $2.40, you're never getting square.
You didn't? Did you get on?
Yes, but you can't get square on what's happened in his past three. There needs to be a loyalty program going, well, actually, if your account says you've backed him in his last three, you can have $5.
Well, you need to be listening to Giddy Up, which I know you do, G. James Cummings at the start of the spring said this is a spring champion stakes horse. Yeah. I think it was about $13. So God bless.
You had to
Tom
go
Kitten.
early.
So we shouldn't have had anything on the other three starts. I'm exactly with Gerard.
Well, Nash, we got Nash
a
a few
loyalty
times.
I think I own 10% of the horse. I
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? We got nashed.
No, Nash,
Yeah,
Nash,
yeah.
his greatest rides.
So
So
it
we
should've
get
won
Willowed
last
and we
year.
get nashed.
Oh,
now.
the great pity, though, he's not coming for the Derby.
He's not coming.
Oh, it's unreal.
He
I'm so
became
happy
the
about
favourite
that.
for the Derby, and then he's not coming.
He's not coming.
Well, I think, stallion-wise, they probably want to look to mile 2,000 for him, I would have thought. And so will he come back for an all-star mile, that horse? Solid pace,
Mate,
whoosh.
He can come back for better races, maybe. Who
Cox
knows?
probably.
Cox Plate next year.
Yeah, definitely. He's a star, the
Nash
horse.
said he was the best horse that he's ever ridden.
What?
Well, he
Oh,
doesn't
no,
need to be ridden
yeah.
the way he'd been ridden.
One
Nash
of,
was-
it could be
Do you
one
know,
of the,
Tom Kitten says he's the worst jockey who's ever ridden me. The new McCrispy, it's the next big thing today. Try today at Macca's,
I've
available
had
at
one.
10:30
They're
a.m.
good. I had one last Thursday night.
Righto.
They were
Looked
great.
just this morning, looked like you've had half a dozen of them.
Yes,
just
yes,
quietly.
yes, time.
yes.
Johnny,
Love this time of the year with the jocks. All the stars rise. For the punters, you just follow Frosty Lane, Mark Zara and J-Mac, and then Melbourne Cup Day, tune right into Joe Moreira. That's all you need to be doing. They're the riders you need to follow over the carnival. And it is all about responsible gambling, Gerard, but those jocks, the more you bet, the more you win.
I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore. Wayne,
I've got a couple. Overhead camera. How good
Yeah.
is it? We talk about, having to reinvent the wheel and everything like that.
Jane pulled that out of your bed
We
during
have
that
to get
overhead
that.
camera. She told you that had to come out. Now you want to put it back in.
I'm not saying
it's a
nothing.
great view to fully
What, my
understand
What do you
those.
mean,
Right,
Gerard?
Gerard.
What do you mean by that, Gerard?
Go away.
Anyway, boys, get back
Go
on.
else have you
away,
got?
Whateley. Whateley, go away.
Yeah, go away. What are you doing? Let me finish my slot.
Go
You're
on.
unbelievable.
What else you got?
We're going to narrow that down and send that.
Yes.
No, we're not, because he
No,
won't
we're
let
not.
it happen.
Hurry up, Wayne.
Righto, overhead camera, amazing. That should just be every week. Make no mistake about it. Simon Zara Sale Cup with Maktub had five wins from 10 starts. Could have gone to Oaks Day, but decided to go to the Sale Cup. And D. Oliver Stakes on Saturday. They've named a great race after a great man. It's the former Linlithgow.
You got a yes, yes, yes?
Bo Merton's brave ride on that filly, and you know what? If he got held up, he probably nearly loses that ride. But he took a punt. He believes in himself. Bo Merton's now he's a jockey of the future. Love what he did there.
Snap. I had that as well. And Matty Hill staying out of the Cox Plate finish.
Right.
When for all the world it looked like Mr. Brightside had probably got it,
He gets it right most times.
magnificent. And it
Yes.
adds to the drama
Yes.
as he goes photo. And then by the time he's finished the field, he's got it. Just brilliant. Oh, no.
Oh no. See
Going
you
first
walking
here.
around like it's
I'll go
a
first. Oh no, Wayne Hawks, you were at the races on Saturday, weren't you?
No.
Well, you were because you legged James McDonald up.
On what?
Oh, you were, and you stood on his foot.
What? That was Friday night.
Oh, Friday night. So James McDonald had a broken foot. It's the most precious foot in
is that
racing.
why he did? Oh,
That's
okay,
the I
hang
know.
on.
And Wayne Hawks, who's well,
That's
if
not
you
the right
sit-
thing.
No,
if
no,
you
no, no,
stand
no,
on
no.
his foot, he could have ended the great man's
The
carnival.
mounting
Wayne.
enclosure is the size of a
So
Rubik's
you need
cube.
to-
and
you
I've
need to be
legged
careful.
I've legged my jockey on, and I'm walking back in, and someone said, "Hey, Oxy, how are you?" I said, "Good, mate." And I had my head turned on the side, and all of a sudden, I've stepped on someone's foot, and they've fair pushed me, like give me
Yeah.
the proper push, and dug me in the guts with a
broken
whip.
foot.
Well, it was J-Mac, but that was not being a. How do you know that anyway?
Ooh,
Was he
that's a
sooking about
disgrace.
me?
Oh no, yes.
Johnny?
So my no, we saw Nash do what he did on Tom Kitten the other day, and better ride this week wins. Jason Collett, I've been all over him for the last 4 weeks. It's a terrible thing. I hate to do it.
No, you don't.
He rode a horse called Namesake in Sydney on Saturday. Well, I've never seen anything like it. That's all I got to say.
I've
I bet
never
up the
seen
place.
anything
I
like
bet
it.
up the place. 14 and 350. Obviously, I was gambling
Jockeys won't
responsible.
talk to me anymore, so I have to put my heel.
Back last, flew home, ran fourth, of course. No good.
Wayne?
We don't need to talk about the crowd at Moonee Valley, but that's got to be getting a mention, the oh no. But Danny Shum, stop being a sook. I know it's pressure, Danny, and I get it and I understand. But what about this? Oh, Race Victoria need to put more facilities at Werribee and stuff like that. Wasn't saying that after the race, were you, Danny?
Tell you one thing, Danny, we're putting nothing at Werribee. We're just going to chuck you in a paddock if you come back again, mate.
Exactly.
Blake Shin's right on Antino needs to be
Yes.
Oh.
How did he go from outside prowess to inside
The
prowess?
the race before he
Oh,
rode like a legend.
no.
And I went, wow, he's going so good.
Oh,
in
no.
that race, yeah.
I backed prowess, but how he managed to get it beaten was a work of art.
He pulled the wrong way.
We will have there's
work
something
of
for the
art.
battlers coming next. Something for the battlers from Johnny O'Neill. So, Your Honour, you've got the honour. Something in the next week.
I've got something Wednesday. Tuesday night, head to that Golden Square Hotel up there. There's a big Calcutta, and you need to be backing a first starter here in Australia. Horse from New Zealand we've got by the name of Jimmy's Star. It'll go around in a benchmark 70 at Bendigo on Bendigo Cup Day. So have something solid each way, and you'll get a result.
Jimmy Star. Wayne?
More secrets in the Empire Rose on Saturday.
Right.
Something for the battlers. Get to the Osborne Rooftop in Bar South Yarra to watch Benny Allen DJ Melbourne Cup night. I probably can't go there because I'm burning the
You're
tickets.
barred. You're barred.
Yeah,
You're barred.
and get on Shinzo for the battlers. It'll win the Coolmore.
No
and
chance.
And some people are trying to tell me my Perth pony's no good. She'll be winning. She'll be winning the Golden Eagle,
Will
Amelia
not win.
Jewel.
Will
Oh,
not.
please, Wayne.
No, I will
Don't
not.
disrespect WA like you have.
Will not.
You won't be shaken.
Perth pony.
Yeah.
I love it. All right.
Pony,
Sorry for the battlers there. Terrific. See you all at Flemington for Derby Day. Good luck with your endeavours
G.
along the way.
See
You and
guys.
Wayne in the top, upstairs again.
We'll be upstairs talking to you as we go. We'll come and see you in the mountain yard.
You're a whole new level, Gerard, aren't you, Wayne?
Take it.
He's got me gagged,
The
blinking,
spring
tongue-tied.
racing means test.